Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome. You found it. This is Daily Dose Radio. If you're brand new to the program, let me just tell you about Daily Dose Radio. It's 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, studying the Psalms verse by verse. That's it. That's my elevator speech. That's what we do here. It's 5 minutes a day, and I fudge a little bit on that sometimes. I go a little bit longer than 5 minutes, sometimes a little bit shorter, but mostly I keep it around 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, and then we skip the weekends. I want you to go to church on Sunday and have a day, that you're not listening to radio, but you're actually in corporate worship. And then we come back on Monday, start the whole thing over again, and we're doing a different psalm. We're moving through the Psalter. So this week, we're looking at Psalm 35. Now, we're going to do this week verses 1 through 14. So that's half of Psalm 35. Last week, we treated Psalm 34. It was wonderful, a lovely acrostic. Some of the most powerful devotional material that you'll ever come across is in Psalm 34. But I'm going to say the same thing about Psalm 35. Boy, there's some highlights here too. This is just powerful material that David writes for us in Psalm 35. Psalm 35 begins with "of David," so we know that this is one of his psalms. And last week we're in the classroom. Remember that? Come children, let me teach you the fear of the Lord. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. Verse 11, Psalm 34. Well, this week we're not in the classroom, but we're on the battlefield. So I need you to strap on your armor. Get ready, because this is a bloody fight. There are some determined personalities on both sides of this battle. And we begin here in verse 1. So let me read to you for today's session, verses 1 through 3. The Lord will strive with those who strive against me. He will fight with those who fight against me. Violently take hold of buckler and shield, and rise up to help me. Draw out the spear and close up the breach, to welcome my pursuers. Say to my soul, I am your salvation. So right away we see that the battle has been joined, but it's not been joined by the psalmist, it's joined by the Lord. And the psalmist is calling on the Lord to come to battle for him. I want you to notice this, because we're going to watch this develop all through the psalm. Never does the psalmist say that he will take up sword, spear, shield, or buckler. He's always asking the Lord to do it. He's asking the Lord to attack his enemies. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, we take it upon ourselves to attack our enemies. It's time for us to lay down our arms and get on our knees and ask the Lord for help. Just like David does here. Violently, he says, take hold of buckler and shield. Now, I just wonder, maybe that's in David's heart. He's hurt, and maybe, emotionally, spiritually, he's wounded. And he says, Lord, violently take hold of buckler and shield. Get out there. Get after him. Rise up to help me. See, this is where we go down on our knees. We ask the Lord to rise up. Stand up for me. Take a hold of buckler and shield. Violently do so. Just like a man of war ready to go out against his enemies. And that's the idea here. The Lord's dressed for battle, and he grabs that buckler and that shield, and he storms through the door, draws out the spear from its holster, and he closes up the breach, ready to meet the attackers as they come. And he welcomes them. That's an interesting word, that word welcome. Usually we would translate that word to call on, but in some cases, in older texts of the Scripture, you have this being used as a word for welcome. And here it is, again, used that way. Welcome my pursuers. Now, he's not welcoming them to tea and crumpets. He's welcoming them to the end of his spear. That's what he's welcoming them to. And then David says, say to my soul, I am your salvation. Because David knows his spear, his shield is not his salvation. Only we find that in the Lord. Okay, so join me tomorrow. Come on back tomorrow. We'll be in verses 4, 5, and 6 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.